Morning, back again outside. This is actually the transit van engine, the one that's in my van, and I've got the bonnet up, and the reason is it's good to have an intact engine to see exactly what you need to fix one that's got parts missing. Okay, so I need an oil cap like that. I'll just show you. The other engine is snapped off about there, if you remember. So I need one of them, that pipe, an airbox. What else do we need? I need the radiator. I need that expansion tank and these pipes, the diesel injection pump, and round the side, you can't see it, but down there is a lift pump, and I need that. I may need the rocker cover as well, but these oil caps on the Transits, the actual top of the cap is the same, but the neck that goes into the filler neck for the oil is bigger diameter than the normally aspirated ones, so I need to get hold of one of them somehow. So yeah, the reason that I've opened the bonnet today is also I need to figure out, because I'm going to a donor van or donor vans, I need to figure out what type of bolts everything takes off with, so I can take just the right amount of tools. So as you can see, they're Torx. I know that that's 13 mils and 10 mil bolts to hold the injection pump on. Obviously any pipe clamps for various pipes, screwdrivers for the Jubilee clips. The lift pump is, I think that's 13 mil bolts. I think it is. So yeah, it's pretty hard to see, but down there is that timing belt tensioner, the one that we were talking about, that's either the round one or the slot one that fits in, that expands and retracts. So I need this pipe. I might have one of them actually in the garage. So also I'm figuring out how everything's mounted. So this radiator, everything's loose on this truck. I think it's just on two big plugs at the bottom. I don't know whether you can see down there, but no. I think it's just stood in holes in the chassis on two big rubber plugs, but I'm not sure how the top is actually mounted. So I'm going to have a look. Also, I'm going to try and give this engine a start, because it's not been run for a long time, and I think the batteries might be flat. So if they're flat, I have a secret weapon that I'll have to get out of the garage. Let's just have a look. Oh, they're still showing green, so that says charged. But the last time I came out to it, it wasn't very good. So yeah, the original battery is that one. On a normal van, that's the only battery that you would have. I've fitted a second one on the passenger side. I bought a tray. It's not actually clipped on, the bracket's missing, so I need to get the bracket back on. But yeah, I bought another battery tray and fitted it the passenger side, because this cranks a hell of a lot faster than just with one battery, and it's more reliable. Okay, I'm going to get in the van and see if this will start. If not, I'll get my secret weapon out. See you later. Right, the big question is, will this transit van start? What we'll do, like my little 8-ball, it's out of gear, but I'm going to put my foot on the clutch and hold it while I crank it, because that puts less strain on the engine. Yes, bonus. It's running. That's a bonus. I was really hoping it would start. It would be really sad if it didn't, because then I'd have to sit charging it with a solar panel. I can show you that later. let's go and have a look at the engine. Okay, I don't know whether you can hear me, but this is the Transit engine running. Happy days. I'll show you why it's so loud. Let me just go around the side. Okay, so usual Transit vans, the exhaust exits just here on the truck, on the chassis cab version, and on the van it comes out just behind the back bumper somewhere there. On this truck I've got the stack up the back of the cab that I've made, so the exhaust actually comes out of the top there. And there's a few reasons I've done that. One, if you're in the cab and you've got your head out the window and you're looking where you're reversing, the exhaust, if it comes out of there, the fumes go that way and choke you. So that stops that, because it's above my head now, it goes out the top. So it doesn't smoke me out when I'm looking out the cab window backwards this way. I've removed all the silencer boxes for a little bit more power. I know it's not much, but it's probably 5 or 10 extra horsepower, so it's got more power to actually tow things and get across rough ground and whatnot, especially with the weight of this thing on. Okay, let's show you the next thing I've got to do. Okay, so I'm going to leave the truck running to charge the batteries, but we're inside the generator cabinet again, and you see this nasty insulation. That is very irritating when it gets all over you. You see these fibres that are hanging out? They get all down the back of your neck, back of your jumper. It's impossible to get, not to get that down you. It gets all over your hands and it irritates you and itches and scratches. So I'm going to take all of this old insulation out, and you can see there's quite a lot. It's all on them doors, it's all on this door. There's a panel of it there. Not sure whether there's any, yeah, there's some at the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that with, let me see, I do know what it's called, closed cell foam, so it should be better. Also, the closed cell foam is like tin foil backed, so it should brighten the cabinet up a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing in here when I've got the generator in. Oh yeah, it's all over the roof, and you can see there that big hole of insulation that looks like it's been partially ripped down. That was from the radiator top hose. That was the radiator sat here and the top hose went in there, and when the top hose was off it flicked up and it touched the insulation, so it started bringing that down. That's the exhaust for the generator. One of the other things I've done, I can't really go anywhere at the minute because this vehicle this truck and trailer combination is classed as a showman's vehicle now, and it's got no MOT. Now, there's a lot of controversy over that. Everybody says to me, oh, you need to be in the Showman's Guild to have a showman's vehicle. No, you don't. There is independent showman, and the rules still apply for independent showman. I'm sorry, but you don't have to be in the guild to be a showman. Proof of that is there is an association called the Association of Independent Showmen. Now, they say that you can be in the Showman's Guild, you can be in the AIS, the Association of Independent Showmen, or you can be completely independent and not be in any. As long as you're registered as a showman on Company's House, you are a showman, no matter what equipment you've got. So yeah, the other thing that I'm going to do is probably jet wash inside the floor of this cabinet all the way down, and I'll be taking bits out that I don't need for the transit van engine, like probably this great big long bar that's really heavy. I'll probably grind the ends off and smash that out. But then I'm going to paint the floor with Silver Hammer Defects Hammerite, just to make it a little bit brighter in here so that I can see what I'm doing, and cleaner. So I will, because this alternator's fell down forward, I'll probably move it all the way forward so that it's off its mounts, and I'll start painting down the bottom there, and I'll start the insulation around the back to get the insulation and the painting. I mean, there's a bit missing there, insulation. That's gone. That was gone before I got this generator. And then there's a few bits missing, I don't know whether you can see, in this recess here between the control panel and the door. There's pieces missing anyway, so that all needs replacing. So yeah, I'll get on and do that. I will show you the solar panel that I was going to use if this truck didn't start, and I'll be back in a sec. Apologies for the noise of the van running, but this is the box for the solar panel. You can see it's got either a cigarette lighter socket plug or like jump leads, you know, crocodile clips, and a panel. You can swap them. They're not on the same cable. What happens is this plug's got a piece of cable and like a plug and socket, and these jump leads have got the same, and then the solar panel's got a separate lead coming out with a socket on the end, and you plug either one of those in. So this would just sit up on the dashboard there, and it doesn't really need sun, it just really needs daylight. So let's have a look at the stats. Bear in mind, I'm not sponsored. I actually went and bought this from Halfords. I don't remember how much it was. It was somewhere between £70 and £100, I think. I've had it some years, you can tell. So it's a 6 watt. I do believe it's a 12 volt. Yeah. And you can charge car batteries, leisure batteries, and all sorts of things. Trucks, as you can see, boats. Suitable for 250 amp hour batteries. So yeah, what I would have done is, if this truck hadn't started, I would have put this solar panel up on the dashboard, and then underneath the glove box there, I've got like a hole through the bulkhead with a little plastic plate on it. I think, don't quote me on this, someone with an Epic vehicle might tell you this. It may well be where the ECU goes, but obviously this truck hasn't got an ECU. So I would have took that plastic panel off, pushed the jump leads through the hole, and clipped them onto the battery that was this side, because they're both linked, both batteries are linked together. And then I would have sat that on the dashboard, and while it was daylight it would have sat charging the battery slowly. So just having a quick look around my truck. I've got a CB radio in there, TTI I think it is, and obviously the back row of seats, which is fairly dirty because they don't get used very often. That silver there on that panel, that is what's known as Neuco. Let me just, I'll keep on there. It's Neuco sound deadening. It's all up in the roof. I've actually pulled these roof sections down before and put that sound deadening up on the ceiling, and it's all underneath the rubber mat. I took this rubber mat out of the floor, and the Neuco is all underneath here as well. There's also, in the ceiling, there's heat deadening, heat insulation, which is like black closed cell foam, probably about a centimetre thick. Again, that's from Neuco. You get both, well, not so much in a package, but you get that silver sound deadening in one box and the heat insulation in a separate package. And I've put both in. I've actually covered the entire ceiling of the van in that, both. Oh, I'm so glad this started. I'm going to leave it running now to charge the batteries a little while, probably 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that, just to make sure that when I do go to another event I can actually start up and get there. So I shall see you later. One thing that I am tempted to change is this. See this? This is the outlet for the electrics on the generator. That's an earth pole so that you can clamp your earths to it. This is your 3 phases and neutral. So what you would do, you would take one of these thumb screws off, and there is a bolt same as that hanging out, and you would connect ring tags onto there for your 3 phases and your neutral, and your earth would go there. I'm tempted to change that for one of the red 3-phase plugs, or a couple of the red 3-phase plugs, or maybe a few of the blue 16 amp single phase, and just run each phase off one of them connectors inside the cabinet, because I think that's dangerous personally. If I mean, it's within reach of children. If they were to touch the metal at the back while this generator's running, they would get a shock. So I might change that. So what I'm going to use to clean this cabinet is traffic film remover, or TFR it's abbreviated to. I'll pour some of that into the watering can and then pour it inside the floor of the cabinet. Leave it to sit for 10-15 minutes. Probably get a brush and give it a scrub, and then I'll fill the watering can with water and rinse it out. There are vent holes where it runs out at the back. I'll just show you. Somewhere under there. The floor's not welded. There's one. There's a slot, look, where it just pours out. So I'll get on with that. I've removed all that nasty stuff, the insulation from in the doors and all in the cabinet. And I don't know whether you can see, but all in the ceiling. There's still some residue left, but it's there. I've also cleaned the floor as best as I can, all the way down there and back. My son's been helping me, so I've given that all a good scrub and mop out. It's still oily in patches, but that I can manage. And I'll turn around and show you that bulk bag is full of insulation. Now, the reason I'm changing it is this. You see this black stuff? That has been near the exhaust, and I think that has been on fire at some point, because I'm not sure whether this fiberglass wool is actually that fireproof. So I'll be replacing that. Well, the paint's arrived. I've got a silver hammer defect. I'm going to paint all the floor of this generator cabinet, but I'm going to start behind where the alternator goes, back there. Okay, this is not sponsored, by the way. I bought this myself. It's from B&Q. So I won't bore you with painting. I shall just show you the results. So just to explain, I'm going to paint down the back there, then push this alternator back up onto its mounts, and then paint in front so that I can get all the floor. And what I might do is I might paint the door frames, excuse the car, and the ribs that hold, you know, between the two panels, the strengthening ribs, because they're going to be shown even when the new insulation goes back in. So I shall make another video of when this is done. I might paint the insides of them grills actually as well, because they're a bit nasty. So this should brighten the inside of the case up, the cabinet, and it should stop anything from rusting again. I'll come back to you when I've done a bit. So I don't know whether you can tell, but that in real life is a lot brighter now it's had a coat of silver. I've not obviously painted there because insulation's going just there. I still need to move the alternator. I'm going to shout my sons and see if they'll help me lift that. And I've done a quick layer on the top of the diesel tank. Doesn't that top looking better than that front? A lot better. So yeah, I'll move that alternator back up onto its mounts and then paint this floor. Right, me and my sons have managed to get that alternator back on. That was a chore, and that jack's just supporting the front because it's front heavy where it is on the stands. So that back bit's painted. I've still got a bit of water in this front end, but yeah, I'm glad that alternator's back in place. That is one heavy mother. Okay, see you next time. I'll do a quick before and after video. So I've moved, as you know, the alternator up there. I'm going to be painting the floor, so this is what it looks like before paint. All nasty and rusty. And the diesel tank there, all nasty and rusty and dull. I will paint round that jack at the minute because it's supporting this alternator. That alternator, because of the way that the brackets are, wants to come down at the front, but I won't get a paintbrush in underneath it to do the rest if that's down. So I'm going to leave the jack in and paint round it. Then once the engine's connected, the engine will hold the alternator up so I can take the jack out and then just paint the square where the jack's been. Not a problem, I can work around that. Okay, so before, and I'll do an after video in a second. And this is after. You can see I've painted everything but the battery tray that's coming out. I suddenly realised that battery tray is going to be where one of the transit van's engine mounts is. So I need to take that out and probably put a smaller one in, because that's for a lorry battery by the looks of it, but it doesn't need to be that big. So that can be for a transit van battery, which will be shorter. So it should fit in, a smaller one should fit there. And just pan you around. Nice clean diesel tank, clean girder. That could come out, but I'm not bothered, because that's where the Chinese engine mounted. But I'm not taking that out, it's too much work just to remove a beam. There you go. It needs another coat, and obviously where the jack is, it needs painting it there. But I'm happy for now, and I am going in. That's all it's getting for today, because I am freezing and I am going for a cup of coffee, and I'm going to make my mum a cup of tea. For those that didn't know, she broke her hip on Boxing Day. She's been in hospital, she's come out now, and me and my sons are looking after her. But there you go. So she's on the mend, and that's the cabinet floor painted with one coat of hammerite. I painted the inside of this ring, so not very many people are going to see this. You might say that it's a waste of time painting it, but I'm going to see it, and if any customers stick their head through the door, they'll probably see through those two ports and see inside there. And I'd rather it be clean and painted up than horrible and dirty. I've painted the outside, but that needs another coat. But yeah, I've not bothered painting the mating faces because they're going to go up against something else. You know, the adapter rings. So that's looking quite good. So the latest thing I've done is started painting the alternator red. That looks a lot better than before, the horrible blue. It needs another coat, but it's looking nice. Also, in the front of the cabinet, I've cut some of these plates out. Sorry about the shaking, I'm holding a camera. There was a plate at the top there and a plate at the bottom there, and then these two plates at the side, which were the radiator shroud. So what I've done, I've cut the bottom one and the top one out and spread the two side ones apart slightly to accommodate a wider radiator. Nice. Upon measuring, the radiator's not much wider than that hole, so I've taken those two side panels out as well, because I might as well put the radiator as far forward as I can, just to give me room inside the cabinet to work. I may even, I don't know, clamp the battery tray to the top of the diesel tank, or change the diesel tank for maybe a slightly bigger one. But yeah, I suddenly realised after measuring I didn't need them flaps in, and I could get away with taking them out. Yeah, you can see just how much extra room I've got inside the cabinet now to work on the engine. If that diesel tank wasn't there and it was actually built into the skid, like on some generators, that would be even better. But yeah, I've got all that room at the front to work with now, and it doesn't matter whether the radiator's under that silencer or not, because that gets hot anyway, so it doesn't matter. As long as it's as long as the diesel tank's not above it, which it's not, then we're fine. We're all good.